The money in your wallet feels simple. You earn it, you spend it, maybe you save a little. But behind that thin piece of paper is a process so controlled, so secretive, and so powerful, it can literally shape entire economies. Because money isn't just printed, it's engineered. Every dollar is designed, tracked, and produced inside facilities that operate more like high-security labs than factories. And the craziest part? The people running these machines don't just make money, they decide how much of it exists. So today, we're going inside the US money printing system to answer one question. How is money actually made? And more importantly, who really controls it? Let's start at the place where physical dollars are born. Not in banks, not in government offices, but inside two ultra-secure facilities run by the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, one in Washington, D.C., and the other in Texas. From the outside, they look like normal government buildings. From the inside, it's a completely different story. Armed guards, surveillance everywhere, restricted zones, background checks just to enter the building. Because inside these walls, they're not just printing paper, they're printing trust. But before a single dollar gets printed, something important has to happen first. The design. Every US bill you've ever seen, from $1 to $100, goes through years of planning before it reaches your pocket. And no, it's not just about making it look nice. It's about making it impossible to fake. Each bill is packed with security features, watermarks, security threads, color-shifting ink, microprinting so small you need a magnifying glass to see it, all designed to stop one thing: counterfeiting. Because if anyone could print money, money would become worthless overnight. And that's not an exaggeration. Once the design is finalized, the real process begins. And surprisingly, it doesn't start with ink. It starts with paper. Except, it's not actually paper. US currency is made from a special blend of 75% cotton and 25% linen. No wood pulp. No regular paper materials. This gives money its unique texture, the one you can instantly recognize without even looking. It also makes it far more durable. A $1 bill lasts about 6 years. A $100 bill? Around 20 years. Not bad for something people fold, drop, and lose every day. Now comes the printing. And this is where things get serious. The Bureau uses massive printing presses that operate with insane precision. We're talking thousands of sheets per hour, each sheet containing multiple bills. The process happens in layers. First, the background colors are printed. Then the main design. Then the fine details. Then the serial numbers. Each step is checked, rechecked, and inspected again. Because even the smallest mistake means the entire sheet gets destroyed. And yes, they literally shred money if it's not perfect. But here's where things get interesting. The US government prints billions of dollars every year. So you'd think that means they're just creating wealth out of thin air, right? Not exactly. Because printing money doesn't automatically make a country richer. In fact, it can do the opposite. Let's talk about inflation. Imagine you're playing a game where everyone has 100 coins. Now suddenly, the game master gives everyone 1,000 more coins. Are you richer? Not really. Because now everything costs more. That's exactly what happens in real life. When too much money is printed, its value drops. Prices rise. Purchasing power falls. And suddenly, your money doesn't go as far as it used to. This is why money printing is one of the most powerful and dangerous tools in economics. So who decides how much money gets printed? This is where things shift from factories to power. Because the Bureau of Engraving and Printing doesn't just wake up and decide to print more cash. They take orders from the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve, often called the Fed, is the central bank of the United States. And despite what many people think, it's not exactly a typical government agency. It operates independently, which means it has a massive amount of control over the economy. When the Fed wants to increase the money supply, it doesn't just print physical cash. It mostly creates digital money. And it does this through a process called open market operations. Sounds complicated. It's actually pretty simple. The Fed buys government bonds from banks. In exchange, it credits those banks with newly created money. Not printed money, just numbers added to accounts. Digital dollars. And just like that, the money supply increases. No printing press required. In fact, physical cash makes up only a small percentage of total money in the system. Most money exists digitally, which means the money printing factory isn't just a building. It's also a system, a network of decisions, policies, and algorithms that determine how much money flows through the economy. But here's the twist. During times of crisis, this system goes into overdrive. Take 2008. The financial crisis hit, markets crashed, banks were failing. So what did the Fed do? They created trillions of dollars. Not millions, not billions, trillions. They used a strategy called quantitative easing, basically flooding the system with money to keep it alive. And then again in 2020, during the pandemic, they did it all over again. Even bigger. Now, this raises a serious question. If money can be created this easily, what actually gives it value? Why does a $100 bill mean anything at all? The answer isn't gold. The US dollar hasn't been backed by gold since 1971. Instead, it's backed by something far more abstract. Trust that the government will manage it responsibly. Trust that businesses will accept it. Trust that tomorrow, it will still have value. And as long as that trust exists, the system works. But if that trust breaks, everything changes. We've seen it happen before. Countries that printed too much money too quickly, like Zimbabwe or Venezuela, ended up with hyperinflation. Prices doubling overnight. People needing stacks of cash just to buy basic food. Money becoming meaningless. And that's why the process of printing money is so controlled. It's not just about producing bills. It's about maintaining balance. Too little money, and the economy slows down. Too much, and it overheats. The Federal Reserve is constantly trying to walk that line. And sometimes, they get it wrong. Meanwhile, back at the printing factory, the process continues. Bills are cut, stacked, and packaged, each one tracked with serial numbers, then shipped out to Federal Reserve banks across the country. From there, they enter circulation. Banks, businesses, eventually your wallet. And when bills get too old or damaged, they don't just disappear. They're collected, shredded, and replaced with new ones. On average, thousands of tons of worn-out currency are destroyed every year. Money has a life cycle. Printed, used, destroyed. Over and over again. But here's the bigger picture. The factory prints money. The Fed controls supply. But neither of them creates value. You do. Every time you work, buy, sell, or invest, you give money meaning. Without economic activity, money is just paper, or pixels on a screen. And this is where things come full circle. Because the real story isn't about how money is made. It's about why. Money exists to facilitate exchange, to make trade easier, to keep economies moving. But over time, it's become something more. A symbol of power, a tool of control, and sometimes a weapon. Because when you control money, you don't just influence markets. You influence lives. So the next time you hold a dollar bill, remember, it didn't just come from a printer. It came from a system built on trust, controlled by policy, and powered by belief. And like any system driven by human decisions, it's not perfect. The machines will keep running, the numbers will keep growing, and money will keep flowing. But the real question isn't how money is printed. It's how far those in control are willing to go to keep printing it. And if you want to understand how money, power, and business really work behind the scenes, make sure you subscribe to Capital Theory. Because here, we don't just talk about money. We break down the systems controlling it. And trust me, this is just the beginning.